Welcome back to the seventh video of this series. In this video, we're going to extract some feature from the name variable. Now, if you notice that name variable has Mr., Mrs., Miss, and a lot of other categories available. So what we're going to do is let's see if we can extract them. But first, what I'm going to do is for the ones that I have treated, I'm just going to hide them so that we have space for others. Right? So I'm going to treat name. Now let me also hide the rest of them. Just want to keep only few. Okay, so the name variable is going to be very simple to do it. We are just going to extract the titles for each of these names, right? Now, title can be extracted by using a lot of functions such as left, mid, and all that, but there's a very simple way of extracting the same, right? So what we can do is we can simply type Mr., Mrs., Miss, right? And then Excel automatically picks out them, right? Now, if it doesn't happen for you like this, what you can also do is go to the Home tab and say Fill and say Flash Fill. It automatically fills the values that you're looking for, right? The only catch is that, not all of them will have treated nicely. So what I do generally is I just say Control Shift L and then I select the ones that are not treated, right? So fortunately, all of them seem to be treated nicely. Let's just scroll down and look at most of them. Yeah, seems like we have no issues doing it, right? So all of the names are extracted as per our requirement. Usually if you have within the filter, you will see some names coming in, but fortunately all of them are cleaned nicely within this, right? So that's the title that we extracted. Now this is an intermediate step, right? So I'm just going to say uh, intermediate step. Now what I'm going to also do is that um, look at what are the unique type of titles I have, right? So I'm just going to create a new sheet, paste special values, increment the values here, right? And say data tab, say remove duplicates and say okay. So once you do that, you will notice that there is a lot of titles available. Now, not all of them will be that handy in nature. So what I'm going to do is let's get a count of it, right? So we know what are the types available. Somehow we have PCTL enter. I don't know why that is happening. I guess, let me just check why that is happening. That's because I wrote the title, probably that's why. So I'm just going to change this as MRS and it should get me the proper name. Okay, so that was a check and we also identify the name and then we're getting the proper values, right? So let's check again, copy this value, paste it here, right? And say remove duplicates, say okay, right? So that way we have now the unique names and let's check each of the counts available with this, right? For that, what I have to do is I did not create the names for these three columns, so I'm just going to select all of them and go to the formulas tab and create name from selection, say okay, and the names are created. So what I can do now here is say count ifs and I want the criteria range to be title intermediate, comma, give the criteria. Now when I drag this formula down, you will see that most of them are stacked around Mr., Mrs., Miss, and Master. So what we can do is instead of having such a long tail, what we can do is try to reduce the number and see if we can find a pattern. There is a pattern here. If you notice, Miss, right, and probably ML is going to be a different one, right? So for example, these are going to be as is, but what we're going to do is we're going to recategorize them into something that is much more something that will help us reduce the number of categories here, right? So for example, if we have M, that's in French, right? So Miss can be represented by MLLE in French, so it's going to be Miss here, and another one is Miss here, right? And then we also have ma'am, which can be Mrs. Madam or ma'am, whatever it is. So it's going to be Mrs. here. So we've replaced this. Now what we can do is also have a look at the other ones, right? So these are the other ones that are available here, right? Now these all can be recategorized into royalty and you know um, the ones that are operating on the ship. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this as you know royalty. It's just a category to reduce. It's just a naming convention to reduce the categories, and I'm just going to place it here, right? So now what this does is obviously um, recategory. So what this does is basically it's reducing the number of categories that we have within this, so that is going to be helping us better model in the future, right? So and obviously just one having one of them is it's very coincident, right? And obviously you know that if royalty is there, which means they would buy their way out to survive, right? So which is saying that obviously they have much more chances of survival. But yeah, there's a lot of debate. But for now, let's just go with whatever we can go with, right? And then I'm going to also create title underscore one, right? Now, how can we get the one that we have categorized? I can simply VLOOKUP this particular title within this sheet, right? So I'm just going to select this F4, comma 2, comma exact match, which basically gives me whatever it is here, but anywhere there is much more the categories that I want to count in together or reduce it, they will be reduced. So right now we have only five of them, right? And within it, if you see within this particular ones that we created, right, and if you remove the duplicates from here, you'll see that you have only five unique values, right? What we can do here now is take this and then create a name for this particular one also, title one, and come back here is equal to count ifs, right? The criteria range is title underscore one, comma, this is my criteria, enter, right? So Mr. remains Mr. However, the other categories that is one, if you sum this up, it's going to be 1309, right? Sorry, is equal to sum is going to be 1309, and if you also sum this, is going to be 1309. The only difference is that what we have done is such unique values that are present or unique titles that are present, we recategorized them within one of the ones that is royalty, and whichever is there in French, we have put them within these values, right? So that's the difference that you will notice, and all of these obviously will get summed up into the royalty part of it. And that's how we get a new feature from the variable name, and we have created this one. Now let's see if we can create much more features. Now within these variables that we have only ticket left, right? In the next video, what we're going to try to do is see if we can get any variable from the ticket, right? And if you notice within ticket, there's a lot of variability. So let's see how we can do that.